So today, Marcia, we have Marcia Nash from RE coming in. Marcia, thank you for taking on my invitation.
Thank you so much for inviting me here today, Dan.
Yeah, thank you. We have a development project in Blackburn Hamlet called the Blackburn Landing, and it's an infill property, 3 levels, single level units with an elevator, underground parking, and it's meant really typically we're trying to aim for the 55 plus community, people who are living in the area, perhaps are looking to downsize, empty nesters, but they want to stay in the community. And we know that you're the neighborhood expert.
Yes, thank you.
So I thought it'd be good to have a conversation to perhaps prepare people who are in that position and say, okay, what are the steps that we would take or that you recommend they take in order to sell off their house and perhaps move into our community, and so we could have just a kind of a conversation about that.
That's great. Yeah, I would love to. Okay. Downsizing.
Downsizing
can be a very stressful situation.
I know.
Because a lot of times they're coming from a larger home, a much larger home.
Exactly.
Then they're going to be downsizing into, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So we're dealing with lots of stuff normally.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think, and what we try to put in the questions that we're getting from clients as well. And we put them off to you and say, okay, how would you consult them? So I have a few list of questions and we go through it. Sure. And in that way, I think it'd be really good for people to listen in and see if they can take any tips and perhaps use your services. So
perfect. That sounds great.
First things first. So how far in advance should somebody contact you, or when they're starting to explore, say, maybe I'm looking to sell or whichever, and because there's a lot of steps involved in going through that process.
Right.
But in your experience, when's the right time to have that initial conversation with you about, okay, what would I need to do? How far in advance and so on? So just how quickly, how far in advance would you suggest somebody reach out to you?
Right. I would suggest when they feel that they need to start the process, right? It just depends on the person. Some people need a little bit more help than other people.
Yeah.
Okay. So for instance, if you have a large home and you're wanting to make quite a significant downsize and you have a lot of items in your home, it's probably better to get me in sooner than later, because it could be, it could be a month to a year of a process just to deal with all of the items in a home, right?
Right.
And the thing is that it can be so daunting. I find that it can be so stressful, for people to actually unload their items, that it actually stops them from making the next step.
Right.
To downsize, because they're so worried about, what do I do with my house? What do I do with my contents? These precious items they've collected for years, they don't just want them to go away, right? So I've created a whole system, a whole network of people to help with this process, and it makes it a lot easier, right?
Okay.
So I'll go into your home and I'll evaluate your home for you. And in the evaluation, I'll walk through the home and I'll get an idea based on. And it sounds like I should have this one process for everybody, but I tailor it to that person's specific needs. When I go into their home and I walk around with them and I see the amount of items and I'm like, whoa, and I start talking to them, I can sort of figure out how hard it will be to get rid of the items, or what we need to do to get. Some people want to make sure that their items go to very specific places, like shelters and stuff like that.
Right.
And then that kind of process could take even like years if you do it all that way. So I have people that will make sure your stuff goes to the right places. I have shelters. I can take care of your items.
Yeah, because some people, and some people have help, some don't.
Right, like sometimes you have family that can help you organize, and sometimes you don't. So I have people on staff that I can offer for a small amount of money per hour that can help you go in and they can help you organize and downsize, right? So really what it is that people a lot of times feel all alone in the process, and it stops them from making the jump.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to come in and I'm going to find out what you need, and I'm going to solve your problem.
Right.
And I'm going to find the people that need to come and help you and make it as
Yeah.
easy and stress-free as possible.
That sounds
by making a
I don't know about you, it
strategy
sounds
and
really good.
It is.
No, because I can imagine. I mean, somebody who's living in their house, they've raised their kids, and they have all these souvenirs, these,
They
you know,
do,
and then you're like
collections of
right.
things. Like some people have amassed these beautiful collections. What do you do with that?
Right.
Sometimes your kids don't want that. You want to, so I have people that can help sell these things. We can send some things to, you know, women's shelters.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah,
Salvation Army, different things.
Yeah.
Like we can
try not to get stuff to just go to landfill.
I don't want to throw it all in the garbage either.
No,
right?
no.
You know,
fair enough. So and obviously this includes you going on site. So an in-home consultation, this is not just a phone call. You're actually physically going on site and
I'm going on site.
Being able
I'm on site.
And you got to understand too what the need is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
Oh, that's
by
good.
me definitely going on site, and I assess it. And then I can set up the people that are needed.
Okay.
To solve their problem.
Right. So, and then for us, like, I mean, the development that we're working on is like phase 1 is available September of this year. As of the time of this recording, we're at the tail end of March. Typically for somebody that'd be looking to move in, you know, to our community and they have a property, like how far in advance would you suggest that they put the house on the market, that actually have it physically ready?
Okay, yes.
Because obviously having a discussion about what to do, but actually having it ready and then reverse engineering what needs to be done to bring it to that time of the year to get the most out of it. What would you suggest? Yeah,
that's a very good question.
Yeah.
If you're looking to move into a property for September and then you'd want a closing of September on your home. You're going to want to be on the market for either May or June this year. That's what I would say. And then what would happen is you'd go on the market in May or June. You'd be put on the market. I mean, we're selling most homes in under 30 days still.
Okay.
When they're priced right and they show well and we've done all the right things.
Yeah.
So yeah, you need to be on the market in June.
Yeah, so
June, I would say June, July, latest for September.
Yeah, so if there's some legwork to be done to get the house ready,
they should probably a little bit sooner than that. I can make things happen pretty quickly with my army of people.
Yeah, no, fair enough. But in an ideal scenario where
it's not me that has to be fast. It's going through the process of, you know, the fact you've lived in a place for 30 years. It's going to take a little bit longer to, you know, emotionally decide I'm going to leave, right?
Right. And if somebody's in that situation, do you recommend they find somewhere to go before they go through the process of selling or after? Because that's
I know,
right? Because it's a catch-22, right? If you sell the house, you don't know where you're going, then there's a stress. But then if you have somewhere to go, but then you have a house to sell. You know what? I know it's not an easy question to answer, but
it comes into play here, right? So I would say, if you're a person that wants to downsize and you've been living a long time and you're a little bit older and you're finding again things are very daunting, it's nice to know where you're going to go.
Right.
Because then you have a target, you have a goal.
Right.
I know that I'm downsizing into this particular property. And then you can decide, well, I need this couch, I need this piece of furniture. So in a lot of ways, it's better to know where you're going first.
Yeah.
Because then you can plan what you need. If you're selling your house first, which you can also do too, and then find something, then we're selling the home. We may be, downsizing all of our property, and we may have downsized it too much, right? Right. Okay. So it is nice to know where you're going to go.
Yeah. And then it helps. Exactly. Because obviously if you get action, no action, then you can react.
Exactly. Yeah.
So if somebody say they have contents in your home and you're coming in and say, listen, you need to stage it a different way, remove contents, but it's not contents they want to get rid of.
Right.
Like, is there, do you have suggestions for temporary storage or, how does that work?
Right.
Or what do you recommend?
Well, a lot of times you can put a lot of things in the garage, which is very nice, or in storage rooms in the basement. So right away, people's first instinct is, let's go get a diamond storage unit, which it's not bad to do that, but then that's also a cost.
Right.
And then it's just the fact that you had to move everything into there. So we do that sometimes. But if I can find a way to, declutter or downsize the house and use your home in that process,
yes.
I will try to make it as easy and seamless as possible. That is one way.
Because especially if you don't want to get rid of the stuff.
Well, of course not.
If you use certain parts of the house, but then you need to show it in a way where it's.
You're right, but the garage and sometimes storage rooms and the basements are acceptable places to have stuff.
That makes sense.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like a helpful way.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Do things too.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And in your experience, when somebody is going through this process, is it more likely than not that some painting will need to be redone, or it doesn't matter? It's really case by case.
Well, it really depends on what the client.
And again,
is
I'm just trying
for.
to.
No,
I'm just trying to think from a standpoint of how much time you need to allocate in order to get to a point. So if you're, from a staging perspective, I was just curious to see, like, is that a common thing or no? Or
well, we're looking for a lot of these larger homes that people are downsizing from. It's going to be a family that's going to move into it, right? And that demographics of people are younger people, right? And they like nice homes. And if your house is free of clutter and painted well and everything and I actually stage homes, I put up artwork. If I make you take your family photos down and there's nail holes, I will replace it with a beautiful piece of artwork from Claire, Home Sense, whatever is going, right?
Yep.
So painting is, if your house is all painted really well, it's excellent, but not everybody wants to pay the expense of painting. Right? Fair
enough.
So it's better to have your house painted. It will actually make you a lot more money. To have your house looking good, but not everybody wants to go through that. They'll say to me, I'd rather sell my house for less money.
Right. And not have to go
and
through
not
that.
have the hassle. And I can do that too. If you say, I don't want to declutter, Marcia, I want to just sell my house the way it is, I'll give you a price for that. But a lot of times when you're moving on, this is your nest egg. You want it, every single penny counts. I can show you how to make more money on your home by staging it and painting it and making it look good. And I mean, with painters that we know, we can do this pretty quickly.
Because I know we kind of share the same people. I think in some cases,
painters,
we said David from We Paint Ottawa, and even for us for turnover on properties, if we need something quick, Dave has the crew and he's able to help out. And I think from a standpoint of selling also.
It really helps.
It's good. Yeah, it helps. And he's always been good about not necessarily, offering services of, offering painting for stuff that you don't really need to be done. It's really he has a system that is geared towards turnover for properties,
right?
Whether it's sale or tenants. So sometimes, as much as you don't want to do it, sometimes the investment is worth the cost. So
it is every single time.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
Yeah, fair enough.
But not everybody wants to. And I mean, I want to, again, I give people a buffet of information and they can pick and put what they want on their plate. Right. So I come with, and I try to tailor it to whatever's best for the client.
And I would assume also that houses, that have been inhabited by kids and your family has grown and so on, in many cases need some cosmetic work. That's not necessarily painting, but broken handles, hinges, doors, or, little, dings in the walls or something, that handyman stuff, jobs, which is, funny enough, is sometimes tough to find because they're too small of a job for most contractors.
You got it.
And is there... can you facilitate that? Like, how does that work? If you show up in a house and you're like, okay, there's, 3/4 of a day of work here, that all miscellaneous stuff to be done, which I'm assuming is quite normal.
Yes.
And how would you proceed with a scenario like that?
Well, I do have contractors that I use on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And they usually, obviously, they like big jobs.
Yes.
But with the small jobs that I have for them, I'm really easy to work with. I give them a lockbox to get in the home.
Okay, so
they can at the end of their day, they can come in and they can say, oh, I asked them to caulk around the bathroom. I'm able to, with my contractors that I have, I'm able to work at a thing where they can do the small jobs for me.
Right.
I've also been,
because that's, I'm assuming
it's hard to do that. I did actually meet a really amazing company at the home show called Fix It.
Okay. Yep.
Which I'm really excited. And they actually have this app.
Good. Yeah,
where
actually,
you take a picture
funny enough,
of.
we have it. Yeah.
I actually, I'm going to be meeting with these guys next week.
I have the card too. So.
Yeah, and I was really impressed with their business design, because this is up a real estate agent's alley.
100%.
And it may be too technical for everybody out there, but I'm gonna learn how to use it on my phone, and I'm gonna be able to provide that. So you take a picture of the job, and then they'll take that and you'll describe the job, and then they'll farm it out to different high-end contractors, and then they'll fit it into their daily day.
That's right.
So I mean, this is something I was already doing, but it was just I had to really be like grease the wheels and say, please show up to do this work.
Right,
well, I think this company is going to bring something else to the table, which is interesting. So
no, and I think from a standpoint of somebody listening to this and being in that position, the overarching theme here is that you'd be able to control that, all those interactions on their behalf in order to do that. So even though there's all these challenges that somebody may be in the position where they have their house and they're like, oh, I got to sell, but I have to do all these things. But this is why I wanted you on the podcast.
Yes,
I wanted to make sure that people understand that, as daunting as that whole process can be, to have you as first of all, you know the neighborhood better than anybody, and being able to facilitate all those steps makes that process a lot easier to go through. Definitely. as it would be if they decided to do it one by one or on themselves, on their own. So
I'm basically their house selling contractor.
Yeah.
I take care of everything. I orchestrate. I'm the conductor of the orchestra. Yeah. Basically for selling. And that's
I know because I know, but it's a huge benefit to have somebody with your resources and knowledge. So that's good. On the topic of, so say you have a house, somebody has a house, but there's, say, more major repairs. Okay. Roof shingles, windows, something more major. Right. So how does that, I mean, again, it's a loaded question because it can vary from house to house, but from a standpoint of, again, I'm trying to reverse engineer what people will have to go through in order to get their house sold and then moved on. Right. What do you, so say, well, let's use an easy one because I think this is probably a more common one, but say the shingles need to be replaced. Right. And they're in a position now where they're looking to sell. Right. I know there's options, but I'm curious to see like what, from your standpoint. Right. Well, when something that visual, I mean, if your shingles are curling back on you, that will affect your house sale, right? Yeah. And sometimes not doing the work costs you a lot more than just doing it. That's the issue. In the buyer's perspective. But again, I would have to look at that particular home. Mm-hmm. If that home was backing on the ravine on a cul-de-sac and had the best layout, it could basically be in any shape. Okay. Right? Okay. Because that kind of home is always going to be in demand. Right. If you're on a busy street. I love that you're taking that angle. Yeah. Because it's not a cookie cutter. Because it's not a cookie cutter answer, right? No. Right. And I wish it could be easier that way, because some people, I will say, you should get that roof changed because you're going to actually lose money if you don't. Right. But then some people look at the roof and I'll go, your budget's already tight. Let's just price it really well. And we'll attract people because of our other assets. Yep. So again, I have to take it's very tailored, right? Right. And then and again, with my 25 years of experience, I figure out what's best for that person. Right. Right. Yeah, because obviously, like you say, it depends. There's it's not a cookie cutter answer. Right. Depending on the person's financial position, what they want to do. Like just even for an example, I usually like all personal photos off the wall. Right. I don't really like knickknacks on the counter, right? Because what we want to show is a clear palette for the other buyers, an unemotional house where they're not looking at their kid's photo. They have to imagine their own kid's photo, right? Right. Right.
But
Right.
when I go
Right.
into a senior's place, and I was at a senior's place last week, and they weren't really in the best health, and there's family pictures on the wall, and I just mentioned potentially taking them all off, and then there was a little bit of stress there, and I
Yeah.
thought sometimes it's not worth it
Fair enough.
to go through all that. It's
enough.
better to price the home accordingly. It's basically
Yeah, it's
common
case by
practice to
case.
have every house look like an IKEA home. If you go online, there's nothing on anyone's countertops. It's staged and everything.
Yeah.
But you can't do that with everybody.
No. People
Sometimes
are living
it's
in their
better
homes,
just,
right?
Exactly.
Right,
And it's
right,
just
right,
sometimes you can't. So
I love your approach. Yeah, no, I think that's why I'm happy you took me on to come in and have this discussion, because I think there's people will get a lot of they'll get a lot of it, and then that way that they can decide which way they want to go. But I think it's what's nice about this what we're talking about is obviously it depends on the situation and the situations that people are in, whether financially, with help, with family, with health, with the means and having the resources. So I love the approach.
But I have the resources. I have people that can move your items in your home. We can move them to a storage unit. We can get rid of them. I can have your home fixed. I can have your home painted.
Yeah.
I can help you even pack your items
too, right?
Well, it is to my benefit.
No, but it's but yours as well. But obviously, but for the seller as well, because if the nicer it shows, then
the more money and the faster it will sell.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Who wants to have their house on the market for months and months?
Right. No, that makes sense. Marcia, you've been very generous with your time. Thank you.
I find you were very generous to invite me on. Thank you.
We're both generous. Anything else you think I may have missed in this? We tried to go through what people were telling us and our knowledge of how this would work, but anything that you're saying, maybe there's something else or that I didn't think of?
No, I think we covered most of the important.
Okay, good. Yeah, so I hope that, if anybody's in this position and they're looking to do that, I would highly recommend Marcia. Obviously, you and I have worked together for a long time.
Many years.
Bought my house through you.
Yes.
Bought real estate properties through you. So, I trust you fully. And in this neighborhood, I know is one that you cover. You've been covering for a long time. So I think anybody would be well served. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks.